It's been a ribbing fiesta. Hi, and welcome to my podcast. I'm Naomi, and this is NJ Knits, where I talk about my knitting. I am still in Prague, but I have so many updates, and I have been good and maybe not so good. My Instagram is Naomi Joy Knits, hence NJ Knits. My Instagram is Naomi Joy Knits. My Ravelry account is NJ Knits Podcast, and my email is the same at gmail.com, same as the Ravelry. So let's jump right in with all of my updates. I have so many things to update you on. It's silly. You know what? I have fulfilled all of the things that I wanted to get going on as far as languishing whips. So that I'm very proud of. And then I have also accidentally fallen into a couple of yarn stores. So that I'm less proud of, but you know what? I'm happy with. I'm also wearing a charity shop find that my partner got for me, and I'm feeling very 1970s referee vibes. But I am wearing a pair of hand knit socks, and it's a pair of socks I've spoken about before. They are 100% alpaca. You can tell I do love how alpaca feels, but anyways, didn't realize how drapey it was. So here's the pair of socks I made in alpaca. How cute are they? Very cute. Very, very impractical. Let me put them on a sock blocker, actually. So here they are. They've swallowed up the sock blocker. As you can tell, they pill quite a lot. I have no recollection as to where I found this pattern. I'm fairly certain it is a pattern that I knit these from. And I made them only last year, I think. But I have no recollection as to where I found this pattern. It was before I knew Ravelry existed. So yeah. They're very soft and very cozy. Very slippery, I would say, because alpaca's got that sort of like almost silky sort of feel, slippery feel to it. I mean, look at those cables. How gorgeous are they? And super cute. Like, the pattern is just the cutest pattern. If I can find out where this pattern is from, it'd be cute to make another pair of socks like this, but just not an alpaca, because look what happens. Whee! It's just so slidey. It does this in my feet all the time. I do wear them. I wear them generally when they're the last pair of socks in my drawer. That's what happened today. They were the last pair of clean socks that I had in London, and I wore them home. They work fine if you wear some shoe that's very tight around your ankle, because it'll keep them up. Otherwise, they do that. And they just flop down, and you can see like the heels just flopped. But they are very, very cozy. I wouldn't say they're great house socks, because they do just fall off if you wear them around the house. But they're beautiful. They're just good for posing. They're good posing socks. Anyway, That's what I'm wearing today because they're the last pair of socks in my drawer. But now I'm back in Prague and there's some clean socks here, so I will be fine for work. I would never wear these to work because they would be too annoying always falling off. Anyways, so let us start with a finished object. It's my only finished object, I believe. Yes, it's true. It's my only finished object, and it's the only thing that I didn't bring around me. So let me go. One moment, please, while I gather it. I have now gathered it. I don't know why I did that. I just thought it would be funny to edit together. And here it is. I have all these other sock blockers here. I will take these two off. I don't know why they need to all hang together, but that was very noisy. I shall edit it out. Here they are. My Thicksgiving socks. Now, I was marling some scrap yarn together to make these, and I was definitely playing some serious yarn chicken, and it got to the point where my main balls of scrap yarn that I was marling, one of them ran out. So for this, I marled like a grayish with the blue from my Crazy Magic socks. And then for this, I marled two sort of grayish sock yarns together. And so they kind of created this grayish bluish situation. So this is like grayish mixed with just plain blue, and this is two different multicolored grayish bluish sock yarns. So that was the first sock. And then the second sock, I got to here and ran out of the smaller ball of the grayish blue. So I had two grayish blues and I ran out of one of them. So I thought, okay, I could either double over the last ball that I have and hope that's enough to get me to the toe. But then if it's not, then I have something very different. Or I can start rummaging through my little, it's kind of like a pouch of very small scraps. It's, you know, scraps that you would use for like a provisional cast on. And that's what I did. So I found some grays, and they're sort of slightly different thicknesses. One of them is like a single ply. This dark gray here is a single ply wool mixed in with the matching color. And then here, this little situation is actually a gray that is a linen, but of course mixed with one, so it's one strand of rogue wool and one strand of the matching wool from here. So yeah, they are slightly different, but I'm pretty pleased. I think they match fairly well. And then it was real rough. Even my second ball that I had enough of, I thought, ran out near the end here, and I was adding in some not particularly matching color. So there's a tiny little bit of rogue pink at one toe. But I thought that was better because I was also running out of the blue, so I couldn't just double the blue over. So anyway, yarn chicken, I don't know, would you call that a lose or a win? I definitely ran out of yarn, but I used up a load of scraps and I have a pair of socks that I'm pretty pleased with. These are going to be a Christmas gift for my cousin. So, yay! That's my FO. And then I have been working on that scarf, the Skylines scarf. And speaking of yarn chicken, this is where I am with it. And seriously, if you're in the States, check out Catherine A. Greenwood. Her wool is just phenomenal. It's like nothing else I've ever worked with as far as like softness level. And it's hand spun and hand dyed. So here is the scarf, how it's going. Remember last time it was this little square, which made a very cute beret. And then I got obsessed with berets. More on that later. Not obsessed, I was like, ooh, berets. I finished the first ball, connected the second ball, and what I did was I finished the first ball, and I was just knitting one side of this. And once I finished the first ball, I connected the second ball to the other side and I knit so that they were even. And once they were even, then I carried on with the second ball on this side and I added the outside strand of the second ball to the other side. So I'm now knitting in tandem because that's all the yarn that I have left. It is knit at a loose gauge, so there's hope in the blocking for this to get longer. Someone didn't say, well, you can maybe make it into a cowl, but the thing is that the edges are, it's a diagonal tip at the bottom, if you can kind of see. It's kind of hard to see because it's on the needles, but it has this diagonal. So when you cast off, it's gonna have a diagonal shape. So that wouldn't, as you can see here, it wouldn't connect well. It would make a funny little like outward blob if you turned it into a cowl. So we just have to see how far this takes us, basically. And I just have to play the yarn chicken of however long I go and see how long it gets before I have to cast off. But here it is. But I think in the blocking, I should be able to stretch this out longer. I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping this yarn will take me at least to here, and then I can stretch it to here so that it's like vaguely reasonable scarf length. It is very, very warm. It's very snuggly and very soft. So those are all great things. But in retrospect, and I thought when I finished this bit, I thought I should probably stop here because if I keep going to the edge, it'll be a wider scarf and I don't think I have enough yarn for a wider scarf. So in retrospect, what I should have probably done was not done these dropped stitches, but stopped here and made the scarf this wide, and I would have gotten a lot more length out of it. And I just didn't know how the pattern worked, and I suppose what I should have done really was like read and understood the pattern, because I thought, oh, what if I completely mess up the pattern if I make this? Because I understood that if I made the square smaller and started knitting back and forth, I'd have a less wide scarf. I just didn't think that. I was just sort of worried. I was obstructed by perfection, guys. I was officially obstructed because I knew it would be a better idea to have a narrower scarf because it would be longer. But I was obstructed by thinking like, oh, if I don't follow it exactly, something might go terribly awry. But nothing would have gone awry. I would have just put this pattern further down. It would have been fine. But I followed the pattern. But I am hoping that I can really stretch this in the blocking. Maybe I should stretch it this way and call it a shawl. No, it's not a shawl. It's a scarf. Anyway, it's really beautiful, as you can see. Like the lines are really gorgeous. You can tell why it's called sky lines. There's these beautiful. The drop stitches were new to me. This is sort of cabling, but also where you slip the stitch, so it really looks like it's traveling on top of the pattern. And then these are wrapped stitches, which I've never done, and they look gorgeous. And then this is some simple yarn overs, and I'm doing some more of these cables at the bottom here. So yeah, that's where that is. It's nearly finished. I'm hoping my next episode will be a whole load of finished objects. Next long-standing whip. It's doing well. It's doing well. Look at this. We almost have 2 sleeves. This has become my in the car on the way to work knit, because it's definitely long. I had almost, the tragedy of this week, I had almost finished, I was on track to finish the sleeves on Friday and have this sleeves done on this. And then I got in the car on Friday to be like, do my final finishing set of rows on this, and realized I had been doing the cuff in the larger size needles and that the cuff was already longer than it needed to be, but I didn't do enough rows, and I was like, I have to redo this. So I had to redo the cuff. That's what happened on Friday. So I only have that much left. It's going to happen today on the way to work, guys, folks. And then the next project for this jumper is I've decided I'm going to do some reinforcing stitches here, and I'm just going to cut this. It needs to be cut. It just needs to be. And I will see what happens when I do that. If the reason it needs to be cut, if anyone's wondering, is because this doesn't, it fits over my head, but in that sense where you have to like, it's a real situation to get it on. It's not just like, oh, it's kind of tight. It's like it's a thing. So I need to make this opening at the back bigger so that it will go over my head. But anyway, sleeves almost done, and then what's left is the ruffle. And if you recall, I bought some mohair for the ruffle because it's originally meant to be with mohair, and I thought, no, I'll just do it with the same fabric. I'd seen some people had done that with the same yarn as they had made it with, and this is really thin yarn that I'm knitting with, and I thought, oh, it's light and thin enough that it will make a cute ruffle. And now I'm like, but maybe I want a mohair ruffle. So I may have made a purchase. So that is that. Very exciting. I've been so good at getting on track with this. Very proud. Proud of myself. Part of my proud of myself situation. Another whip that I have been, this is going to be my next car on the way to work whip, is the Slipover that I'm working on for my partner. I'm working on the front, and this is the ribbing. Not really much to see here. I'm doing it with my 3.25 mil needles. I'm gonna go up to, oh no, I'm gonna stay the same actually. This is 3.25 for the ribbing, and then it's going to be half fisherman's rib for the actual jumper. And it's going to be on the same size needles, so I'm not going smaller for the ribbing, even though that's probably what I should have done. I decided not to because my partner doesn't like things to go in super tight around the waist and then get wider. So I think that will be better. I'm making it with Custom Woollen mills. I got this in a charity shop in Canada. It's single ply, it's mule spun wool. So I think that the spinning operation is powered by mules, which is cool. So that's going to be car on the way to work knit once I've done the sleeve on that. It's been a ribbing fiesta in my life lately, honestly. Apart from that scarf isn't ribbing centric, but everything else has been rib centric. Grabbing another thing, and I'm back with this thing. This is my beautiful knitter's bag. I survived 2020 thanks to knitting. Beautiful little bag. It's a good size sock bag, and it's got all of my things for my socks in it. This is a 3 yarn sock situation, so it's really not messing about. Needs a whole bag to carry it all. I'm using again the mule spun yarn from Custom Woollen mills in Canada, and then this sparkly situation, which is beautiful. So I'm finally making my second sock of these gorgeous socks, and I said I would cast it on, and I hadn't last week, but I did this week, and I'm just doing the first cable of the little cable pattern, and there's only 3 cable crosses to do, and then you're on basically relaxed stockinette sock knitting from there. This is a shadow wrapped heel, which I'll definitely have to go back to the pattern to re-follow how to do it. But yeah, so that got started. I got the little ruffles and I got the first of 3 cable crosses done on the leg. So that is exciting. I almost didn't film today because I thought I wouldn't have enough energy. I've been feeling a little bit depleted lately and a little bit, I don't know, easily overwhelmed by sensory input. For me, it's mostly auditory sounds. Sirens can sometimes get me going, and it's just, it's always a sign of like other stressors or being tired or just being sort of low, depleted in some way when noises are overwhelming me. So in being in crowds or being around lots of sirens going by, I just have to close my ears. And today on the plane, because I went home for the weekend, today on the plane back, I was just like, the guy was doing the announcements and I was getting properly enraged. I was like, just stop talking, please just stop talking. And I'd forgotten to bring my noise cancelling headphones, so that's the thing to remember on a plane. Anyway, I don't know why I got into talking about that, but no, I don't know why. I thought I wouldn't have enough energy, but I seem to be whipping through this. Then, this is my bag that I went on and on about before in a previous episode. It's a Czech designer that does these really simple canvas bags, and they're great. But I have big news, folks. Big news. And this is what I'm about to just do, actually, in a moment. Unpack with me from my weekend home. Check these out. These are amazing. I got these for my Christmas from my aunt. And this is the sleeve of an old cashmere jumper that someone has turned into mitts. And they're so perfect for knitting. I know the amount of knitwear I wear that I didn't make, it's like I'm not a proper knitting podcaster. But what else do I have in here? Who does this? We know we all do it, right? We all do it. Come on, don't lie to me. You steal those baggies. I have some baggies from the airport. Yes, this is who makes them. Turtle Doves. They're in the UK-based company, and they take cashmere jumpers that have holes and they recycle them in different ways. So this one must have had lots of holes in the body, but the sleeves were okay, so they made these amazing little cuffs. And they're so nice, they're really sweet, and they are, yeah, they're actually little sleeves from a jumper. What a genius idea is that? So there's a cool idea for you if you have some jumper that is for some reason only sleeves. You can do that with it. I think it's just sewn, it's rolled and then sewn sort of on the edge like that. And here I think same thing. And I take them everywhere because they're very, very light, and I use them for my knitting and walking. So, folks, how exciting. I told you I've been good. Here's my Pescetarian, which I've had for ages and have been resisting the second one. I cast on, I did the cuff, and then I was like, because this is all the complicated fancy stuff that I didn't want to do. So I sat on the plane, I put my headphones in, and I was like, here we go. I'm just going to sit here, and I'm going to do it. Ta-da! I did it! Yay! I've got this much left of the fancy pattern, and then I can start on the heel, which is an Eye of the Partridge heel. So once I turn this heel and pick up the stitches, I will be gusseting my way to freedom. Gusseting my way to freedom. This is a huge gusset because I think I made the flap way too big because I was trying to stay in the pattern. And I think also because the pattern is meant to stay this intense and involved the whole time. So I think I was picking up the amount of stitches I needed to for the pattern, which I reckon was more than you would normally want, because obviously this is 72 stitches, and we all know my stitch count for socks is much smaller than that, but because of all these twisted stitches it makes it very small. So it's a little funny shape because I think I had initially planned to carry on following the pattern, and then because I wasn't picking up the right amount of stitches and I was unable to, the pattern was just like causing great frustration to me, I just went, never mind, and I just gusseted it out. It's like tapping out. I just gusseted it out. So I was like, okay, this is a huge number of stitches. I'm just gonna gusset until I've reached a normal number of stitches for a sock. And then I did the toe. So I hope I either followed the pattern for the toe. I didn't. I'm sure I didn't. I hope I kept notes. I'm sure I didn't on how I did this toe, but it looks more or less like a wedge toe. It's probably a similar toe to my kind of magic socks. Anyway, so I'm very close. I just have to do my heel, which isn't that complex, and then I get to wear these squishy socks. The squish factor on this is incredibly high, I must say. I did tell a friend of mine that if she wanted socks, I would happily make her socks if she ordered me that yarn to make them in. I was like, look, it's £25, but if you're having handmade socks, that's what you have to pay. So buy me that yarn, I'll make you socks. I'll make anyone socks with that yarn if they buy it for me, because that yarn is so lovely to work with. Then, that is not all, my friends. That is not all my whips. How many whips are we at here? We've got 2 pairs of socks. We've got a scarf, a jumper, a slipover, and a hat. So I am test knitting the Sky Beanie number 1. And this is it so far. I'm basically just in twisted rib land until the end of this yarn, basically. It's a very simple twisted rib pattern. It's going to have a folded it's going to be folded like so. And it's a pattern that I was looking for, and I was going to try and design, and then I saw that this was being tested, and I asked to test it, and I was lucky enough to get to test it because it's basically what I wanted, like a fingering weight hat, all in ribbing with decreases, fitted to your head. It's basically the same hat that I normally wear all the time, so I'm excited to have this. I'm making it in Knitting for Olive compatible cashmere, held double. I think I should probably, if I were to do this again, use different yarn or hold it triple or even quadruple. Because even held double, it says in the Knitting for Olive website that you can hold it double instead of one of the fingering weight yarns, but I would say it's very light, very light, even held double for a fingering yarn. But this is okay because this is going to be folded over this hat. Also, it feels divine, this hat. So soft, it's so drapey already. It's like the drapiest of drapey. It's knit on 3.5mm needles. So it's so soft and lovely. So I'm hoping it turns out really well, and I really love it. I did give away my birthday socks and birthday hat this weekend. They were well received. The hat was way too big. So I told my friend to do all the things you're not supposed to do with wool and hopefully it will shrink. We'll see if it does, because it's super wash, so it might not. But I think washing it will help anyways. So I'm marling these two, which in the wool looks like it would be a really pretty marl. But when it comes to the fabric, kind of blends too well, I think. And it just sort of looks grey. It doesn't look as marled as I was hoping it would look. Now, obviously, it is marled, so you can see that when you look closely. But it kind of just looks like a textured grey, which I'm not opposed to, but it wasn't really what I was going for. But that's okay. I do have 2 other balls of Knitting for Olive compatible cashmere, and I'm unsure as to what I'm going to do with them. I'm curious to see what I end up doing with them. I was kind of considering making a really cheeky pair of cashmere socks for myself and doing like 2 at a time and maybe color blocking them. And so just doing like one color up to a certain point and then another color. They're just thoughts running around in my head. So that is that. That's my easy knit at the moment. That's my walk around knit. So I brought this one home for the weekend and I walked around doing it. But I still do, as of yet, I'm so close on those 2 pairs of socks to having just a plain go sock, but I still don't have one. I'm very tempted to like cast a cheeky one on. I'm tempted to cast on, well, I know I want to cast on another pair of socks in a thicker wool. So I would want to do another pair of Thicksgiving socks, but I just don't know what yarn I want to use because I need to make some from my partner's, my friend's husband. I just don't know. He has big feet. I don't know if I have enough yarn, sock yarn, to make a pair of Thicksgiving socks for him. So we shall have to see. I might need to buy a sock yarn. It's just something I might have to do. I can't help myself if I don't have a base that I need. The problem is I have this grey sock yarn, which is really what I should use. I'm looking at it now. That's great. It's perfect. It'll go with anything. I can pair it up with a bunch of other things. But my partner got it for some socks. She wanted it for her socks. So I feel like I shouldn't use her sock yarn. I get some other sock yarn and use it. But then at the same time, I'm like, why are we buying an extra thing of something that you literally currently have when you could just use that? I'll just buy some more. It's fine. I feel like if you have one base that's even, what I learned from that, my finished pair of Thicksgiving socks, you can kind of play around with the other things that you pair with it, and you kind of have more leeway, which is quite fun, I think. So anyways, that is a side note. I think it would be quite fun to do like grey and pink. I have those 2 pink things of Alpaca. Don't you think? Cute, right? That's fine for a man, right? So, speaking of my friend, we're on to plans now. I have plans to share with you. And I'm basically just unpacking my bag that I brought home with me. This is my bag for the weekend away. Some water. This is a great bag actually. You can get it in Decathlon. I highly recommend. It's, I think, meant for footballers. It's got a laptop pouch, little side pouch, and then there's this down here, which I think is meant for your boots, but I use it for food because it's like a separate underneath pouch, which is quite a cool idea. And then it flaps over. This has its own little pouch. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you about my backpack, but I found it to be incredibly useful, very reasonable price, Decathlon. So I came home with pretty much just wool. This is a hand-spun, woolen spun wool that I spun myself. So very thick, thin, not great. It was my first time, I think, spinning with woolen prepared wool. So it's not been carded, and it's not roving, which is like the basically the combed hair. It's sort of in a bat, which is like more of a like a piece of paper of wool instead of like long locks. It's like a piece of paper that's like got like the wool is like relaxed and sort of separated. So it's not like you don't have to pull it apart, but it's going in every which direction. It's not combed so that it's all going from point A to point B. The wool is all going from different points to different points. So this is really gorgeous color. I would have loved to use it in a color work something, but I think I'm gonna make a berry out of it for my auntie. I have to double check with my cousin to see if she likes this color, and then I will. I also just recently bought a pattern. I decided I wanted to make something. Most likely I decided that I was having too much fun with this yarn and didn't want the fun to stop. So I brought this, which I got off eBay for, I believe, either 16 or 24 pounds. 5 balls of 50-gram skeins of wool. It is 100% virgin wool, and it is made in Italy. It's Linea Botanica Rico design, and it's 50 grams and 130 meters. So it's this beautiful color of sort of like it's showing up slightly more colorful than it is in person. It's kind of faded. It's sort of a gray cross between a gray and a lavender. It's definitely not as saturated as this wool is. It's not as colorful as this wool, but it's sort of similar, I'm noticing. So I found a pattern for a slipover that I want to make with this, and I'm really excited. So I was just feeling like I had a lot of very small gauge items on the needles, and I wanted something slightly less small gauge. And that's why I brought this home. So I will start, and also I've been itching to cast on a slipover. However, I am realizing that I have 2 pairs of me socks, a me jumper, a me hat, and it's November, and I still need to knit a present for my aunt, a present for my friend's husband, and that slipover for my partner, hopefully before Christmas. So maybe I need to hold off on the me jumper, the me slipover. Sad days. However, to carry on with my unpacking, I'm unpacking for you. I brought these back. This is my clover pouch. I won this. Can you imagine? I won this in a drawing at a fiber festival 10 years ago. 10 years ago. I'd never won anything in my life before, and I was so excited to win this. This was the day that I learned how to spin. No, it wasn't. It was the weekend I had learned how to spin. So this is funny. I went to a fiber festival just randomly. I had been a knitter, so I went to this fiber festival. I forgot I meant to bring my drop spindle because I spun it the weekend and I was really enjoying it. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll bring my drop spindle and do some drop spindle spinning. But I forgot to bring it. So this story is I went to this fiber festival because it was near me. And I thought, well, I like to knit. So I went to this fiber festival, obviously learned how to spin, obviously bought a drop spindle and some fiber. And then the next day I was meeting some friends at a wine tasting festival, and in this sort of like crafty booths at this festival there was someone with wool that you could spin and knitting stuff, and I was like, oh, and I had brought my drop spindle because I was already obsessed. And so I sat there all day listening to music, drinking wine and spinning wool with my drop spindle. It was the ideal day, and I had signed up for whatever it was, a drawing to win something, and I actually won it. I won this case of Clover circular knitting needles, and obviously there's other circular knitting needles in there since then, and obviously some of them have gone away. But how cool is that? So this is what I've had. I had originally supplemented it with those ones that you get in from Amazon that are like, oh no, these ones are Clover. I think most of the ones that I got from Amazon that are just like from China have since died because they never last longer than one project, those Chinese ones. Here's a pair. This is what I had originally like supplemented them with, was these. And one project is usually as long as they'll last before this breaks. And you can kind of heat it up and put them back on. So that's fine. But yeah, these cords are just like, they're just little tubes. So yeah, most of the ones that I had supplemented this case with have since died. And I have since obviously got a load of interchangeable ones, but these lived at home. And because I'm about to start teaching some people how to knit, I thought I would bring these because they might be useful. And I also brought my collection of, this is another Amazon purchase where you just get all of the sizes of interchangeable needles for like a tenner or something. Not interchangeable, double pointed. So I have from like 3.5 to like 9 mil double pointed needles. This is something from more than like 15 years ago. It's like a little double pointed needle holder. Size 4, 3.5 mil. Yeah. Whee! Very cute. But you would need a lot of these for all these. I tend to just keep these in the bags that they came in with the little number on them because it seems to be the simplest way of doing it. I only brought the essentials back from the UK. Digestives. A Hanukkah candle. Sand and Fog is my absolute favorite. You get them in TK Maxx, very cheap. Gorgeous smells. And my advent calendar! Look how cute this is. This is a tea advent calendar that my partner got me. So I'm very excited to start it. Anyway, I'm sorry, I don't know why this is happening, but it just happened, so. The last thing to show you is my plans. So as I said, I'm gonna start teaching some colleagues how to knit. So I got some things for them. I sent them pictures of, so in my opinion, if you're just learning to knit, here's my opinion. Pick some chunky wool and make a headband, a cowl, or if you're feeling adventurous, a hat. Not if you're feeling adventurous, but a hat. Those are my three recommendations. Headband, cowl, or hat. Choose the one that you're most excited about having and use chunky wool. Don't use super, super chunky because that can sometimes be too much, but just chunky wool. So this, in my opinion, is ideal. So I sent pictures of all the chunky wool and said, choose a color from this. And my 2 colleagues chose a color and I got it for them. And then I just got some pretty chunky circular needles and we are going to make hats, I believe. This one is great. Some people say like, oh, don't get this type of wool that's like just one, you know, that's kind of roving, because it can split. I don't worry so much about splitting when I teach people to knit, but I don't know, maybe that's just me not being very considerate. So yeah, I just kind of randomly got, this is 8mm needles and these are 9mm needles because this is thicker wool that she chose. So this is Katia Love Wool, which is 85% virgin wool and 15% alpaca. And virgin wool, I learned, is when the first... Actually, no, that's lamb's wool. Never mind. Take that back. I don't know what virgin wool is. I assume it's similar to lamb's wool, but I don't actually know. And it is 100 grams, which is 50 meters. And its recommended needle size is 13mm needles. So these will be a little bit small, but it's okay. I have 13mm needles if you want to use them. And then this is Drops Andes, a mix of superfine alpaca and Peruvian highland wool. So it's kind of the same thing, alpaca and wool. This is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. I really like the colors in this. They really got a little depth to them and a little variation, which I think is quite nice. I love it when pink has a little bit of blues mixed in with it. This says 9mm needles, which is, that's this size needle. And it says 100 grams is 90 meters. So that's what this is. This is not as thick as this. So we'll see what we make with that, but I've got that for them and put it away. Then of course I was like, well, I need to cast on with them to show them how to do it. So I got myself some Drops Andes. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to make with this. I'm thinking I'm either going to make it another terrazzo neck, because I've been meaning to make one for myself, or I'm going to make a hood. I got 3. And I've been wanting to make like those hoods that are just, it's just a hood and maybe a little bit around here, and it just goes under things and you just have a hood basically, which sounds phenomenal. Also, this yarn on its own would make quite cute little strings on a hood. So I don't know. I have this now. Great. So that's for my little teaching. And so I told you about how I made the ranunculus for my my friend's little Bubba, and she wants one. So she said she wanted it in olive green. So when I was at Yarn Queen, I was looking, and this was the best olive green that I found. So this is Filcolana Arvetta, and I've not tried it. I've, heard lots of things about it. Lots of people have used it for different things. It feels very soft. It is a superwash, and it does have nylon, so it's meant to be a sock yarn, I would imagine. I got four balls of it to make a ranunculus, short sleeve ranunculus. I think it will be really lovely. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I have any leftovers I can use in some actual socks or something. I do have a tiny touch of leftover from my friend's baby's ranunculus, so it'd be interesting if I can somehow incorporate that into the leftovers of this one and make like some child socks or something. That might be cute. So that is probably going to precede the cast on of my slipover, just because it will be a Christmas gift. And then, also I've been wanting to make one since I made the first one in the summer anyway, so it's not that much of a sacrifice. Then I got some mohair that actually matches the color, I think. Actually, I haven't checked. Of my Gibson Ruffle blouse. Yes, it does. So, I mean, it's a little bit darker, actually. Yeah, it's a little darker. But I think it does match pretty well. So I might do this is Ito, which is a silk mohair, 60% mohair, 40% silk, 240 meters for 20 grams. That's quite a lot. Which is from Ito yarn. So yeah, it's not 100% exactly the same, but you know, when is it ever going to be? So yeah, I might do my ruffle with some mohair, or I might not still. But I thought I would get this just in case I wanted to. I've done a really good job of not buying any more yarn, haven't I? So then there was the case of wanting to make myself some plain socks and not really having any just like sock yarn lying about. Saying that, I do have one skein of sock yarn, but it's at home. So I decided to get myself some sock yarn. Also, I tried this yarn. This is Czech wool mixed with Belgian linen. I tried this yarn in... I didn't try it. I bought it, and I have yet to make it. I bought it in order to make myself the... What's it called? It's the Gregoria Fibers Irene top? Ingrid top. It's the Ingrid top. I still haven't made it. So I haven't actually tried this yarn, but I really wanted to have a skein of it for socks because the other one I got 2 skeins of it, and so I want to make a top out of it. So I wanted to get one that I could use for socks. And this is just such a Christmassy color. I just thought it was so pretty. I wanted it for Christmas socks. And I also thought it would go really well with the grey wool that I have for like a contrast. Or I could just get some pretty white wool and make them super Christmassy with some color work. I don't know. Or I could just make them plain, just plain red socks for Christmassy squishiness. But it's such a squishy, lovely wool. The wool is called Krempke Soul Wool, and it's called Lazy Linen. So it's a natural sock yarn made with mulesing-free wool and Belgian linen. So there's no nylon in this. The linen is basically to replace the nylon. And I think the linen is what makes these little like white bits. It's just so pretty, isn't it? So I want to make some socks with that. And then this was probably the most frivolous purchase that I made of all of the purchases. So if you recall, I bought this last week to make the ruffle on my Gibson Ruffle blouse, and it was not the right color. So I thought, while I was looking at the Arvetta, I thought, oh, this would match it really well. So I got 1 skein of this, and I thought maybe I could do a hat with it, or something. Now that I'm looking at it, this is quite a lot greener than this one. I'm sure they would like go together really nicely and look really pretty. So So this was entirely frivolous, because this was entirely frivolous. I bought this, it had no purpose. It had a purpose, but the purpose wasn't right, so it then became an orphaned ball of yarn, and then I bought this to be its orphan friend. So now they're more of a plan. I really, 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 really am going to stop buying wool now. Time for Chaos Cam. I just created more chaos. There's my knitting books that have just fallen over off of the cushions. Chaos Cam. Chaos over there. Chaos Cam. So, I hope you are having a good week, a good weekend, a good day, a good 13 seconds. And I look forward to seeing you and hearing from you soon. So please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and connect to me if you'd like to. I love to hear from people, hear what you're up to, what you're working on, any thoughts or ideas you had about any of the things that I'm working on. Yeah, do let me know. I love to hear from you, and I hope you are doing very well. So until next time, see you later.